Will you look at this mess?
I said, look at it.
So this is the sad and deplorable condition of the train room right now, having just moved in. And this is kind of the last room to get organized as I take the regular living spaces and get them looking all just so. So I need to do something about this. And in order to do that, I have to have kind of a structure on where to put all of this random stuff because my storage unit is full of the last railroad. So I don't have much room in there. And closet space needs to be somewhat accessible, especially in this room for the sake of the cat and his bowels. But otherwise, nothing organizes things like having a layout to put things under. So I've got some benchwork pieces that are carried over from the last railroad. These are the old staging yard sections. And I need to build some new ones in order to establish a track plan in this room and give us kind of a grid or framework around which to organize everything else. But I wanted to show you the room so that we can have a little bit of before and after fun. When this is all finally clean and organized and we go, wow, look at the transformation. It's just like a makeup video or a home renovation thing. So stick around and we'll go through the progress of this little project together.
As I had mentioned before, moving to an apartment meant that there would be no space to continue working on Rice Yard as I had hoped. Therefore, I had to switch gears and make do with such space as I had. In this case, the larger of the two bedrooms in my new place would serve as the new railroad room, and with a layout in place, would also make a nice storage area. At roughly 10 by 12 feet, the room was a good candidate for any number of bedroom-sized track plans, but since I was planning to use the leftover modules from my last staging yard, I decided to get a basic benchwork form established first, and then create a nice little track plan to fit within that. One important aspect of this build is an emphasis on using Joe Fugate's TOMA concept, or the one-module approach. By adapting many of the principles of TOMA, I was able to adapt existing staging modules to fit the new structure, and add new sections to fit the room. In short, the whole railroad is made of self-contained sections that each have their own tabletop, backdrop, and lighting valance, and when all bolted together, they form a cohesive finished railroad with a nice clean look. Now, to account for the needs of the apartment complex and avoid drilling a lot of holes in the walls, I tried out an idea I had back in 2004 but never fully committed to, which was to make all of the table legs along the wall side of each module extra long, if not floor to ceiling. With these longer parts mounted to the outside rear of the modules, they could serve as false studs that then support the backdrop and lighting valance. Running them all the way to the ceiling also gave me the option of bracing the opposite sides of these parts against each other in order to prevent the entire layout from folding inward on itself. So once everything was blueprinted in Extract CAD, I bought a small pile of lumber and got to work, cutting everything off site and marking each piece so that they could be accurately assembled in the train room. The end result came together quite well, and I didn't have to clean up all kinds of sawdust out of the carpet.
Alrighty, one of the key design points of this railroad is to force the operator to focus on directly what's in front of them. And I feel like I've achieved that, or I think I will have by the time I've got the backdrops up, by designing it in such a way that wherever you're working, you can't see the rest of the railroad. Once the backdrops are in place, it won't be possible to view the entire railroad from any one point in the room. So, in that way, the operator remains focused on the task directly in front of them. So in this case, where things start out in the yard industrial area, you're focused on that part, but you can't see around the corner because this is all solid backdrop, and because basically this is just a wall. Once that stuff goes up, you don't see the rest of the railroad over there. So you have to go around the corner here, and let's take a look at that. Now, having gotten into this section, you've come around the corner, you're into this part right here. Well, now you're working on this section right here, which means you're not looking at the back here. Now, you could do this or this and kind of take in the entire thing, but generally speaking, when you're doing your actual switching work, you're going to be focused either on one side or the other. And, or at the very least, following your train. And the idea is to really force the operator's focus on directly what's in front of them. So hopefully that will help present the illusion of a much larger railroad than it actually is, especially when to get to this area you do have to follow a specific pathway around all the rest of it to land right here. So if you got to walk longer, even though it's just a 10 by 12 foot bedroom, it makes it feel bigger. So anyway, that's my hope with this design, and why I placed an emphasis on laying out the shape of the benchwork first and then doing the track plan afterwards. Alright, so now that the underlying skeleton of the railroad is in place, before we start doing any more finishing work, I'll talk a little bit about how I wired it up in order to get these lights in here, and a little something I'm going to try doing in here as well for night lighting effects. So that should be interesting. See you on the next update. Thanks for coming out.